Today we're in London and we're here to eat.
We can't wait to show you some of the best food this city has to offer.
If you love to eat, London's food scene will be right up your alley. The city's food culture has a fascinating history, and there is no shortage of good food to be found here. This is our third video from London, and we're here to hunt down the tastiest British food. Watch out for the ultimate fry-up, London's original street food, and a whole lot more. In this three-part series, we'll show you some of the capital's tastiest food, from iconic dishes to the best eats at London's famous Borough Market. You don't want to miss this series. Get ready for some mouth-watering food.
I'm Thomas.
And I'm Sheena, and we're chasing a plate.
We hope you're hungry. Let's eat.
In this London series, we want to show you traditional British food, the best versions of really popular and well-known British dishes, but also some more unusual and lesser known British foods. So we're at our first stop and we're starting with pie, mash, liquor and jellied eels.
Every time you put it on somewhere. What is it, the right? By the right?
Oh, that looks great. Awesome, thank you. We're in the oldest surviving pie and mash shop in London, M Manzes, and this place is insane. It's been around since 1892. When you step into the shop, you feel like you've stepped back in time. The atmosphere is absolutely brilliant. The ladies who work here are fantastic. They're so friendly. We have come to eat the famous pie and mash. So let me show you what we've ordered. This here obviously is the pie. We've got huge mounds of creamy mashed potato on the side, and then the liquor, which I mentioned before, has got nothing to do with booze. It's actually this green parsley sauce. There's a whole swimming pool of liquor on the plate. It's amazing. And then they also traditionally serve jellied eels with pie and mash. So this is a cold dish, so cold eels, and then it's got clumps of gelatin. It's just formed a natural gelatin around itself. So this dish has a great history, but before the pie mash gets cold, I want to have a taste of it. So let's just eat first and talk later. So we've got this pie. It's made out of a suet pastry on the base. So suet is the hard fat which is around the kidneys of a cow or a lamb, and then the top is either a short pastry or a flaky pastry. So you've got a great lot of mince in there. I'm going to coat it in that liquor and then grab a chunk of mash too. This is comfort food right here. The mash is super creamy. The liquor is really mild, but it adds a great sort of wetness to the dish. It's beautiful. And then that pastry of that pie is really crispy and flaky. I'm gonna get another bite. Get some more of that meat and that mince. It was just a beef mince. It's actually a secret recipe, so they're keeping it well under wraps. All right. Oh, really traditional. The pie is delicious. It's very light, and the mince has got a really great flavour, really beefy. I am loving this pie. It is just super simple. Really clean in flavour. Pies are pretty much the original street food of London. They have a really long history in British food culture. So they were sold by vendors who'd roam the streets of the East End selling pies to the working class, often filled with really cheap cuts of meat like mutton. But then very soon after, they turned into sort of pie and mash houses so that people could have a really filling meal. So that's when the mash and then the liquor came into being.
I really want to get into these jellied eels. They're a very interesting dish. So they're cooked in a stock, which is then left to cool. So the jelly is just made from the natural gelatin that's come out of the eels. So a very simple dish. Let's just get a nice jellied bit. Oh, there's just bones in there. Oh, that's really good. Oh, yum. It's quite a mild flavour. It's got a a beautiful fish taste. It's a little bit salty. Really good. The jelly's super soft. Here that they go well with vinegar. So I've got a giant thing of vinegar here. Let's try it with that. But there was plenty of flavour without the vinegar, so I'm just going to get a little bit of vinegar on there. Just get the whole thing nice vinegared up jelly. They are delicious, very mild in flavour, a lovely saltiness, and a very interesting dish. This came about because here in London the River Thames was so polluted back when all this food came about that then nothing survived. There were no fish in there except the eels. There were millions of eels. So it was all they had, so why not get them and cook with them? It's a very interesting dish, really tasty. They've told us that the drink to have with this is their sarsaparilla, so they brought this over for us to try to have with our meal. Oh, I love sarsaparilla. It's made with the root of the sarsaparilla plant. Has a real caramel sort of flavour. That's actually a really mild one, so it does go well because these flavours are quite subtle, nothing super punchy. I'm loving this place. The atmosphere is brilliant. You've got people coming in for a cup of tea and a pie. It just feels super traditional. I love the tiled walls, the booths that we're sitting in. It is a very, very neat place.
That was such a brilliant meal. What makes a memorable meal is not just about what's on the plate in front of you, it's about the smells and the surroundings and the people. That was truly a memorable meal.
And I think it perfectly summed up what this video is going to be. We're not showing you all the gimmicky stuff, the fancy stuff, the Instagram stuff. We're showing you what the locals eat, what's been around for a long time, the really traditional food here in London. Next up, we're eating somewhere I've wanted to eat at for a very long time. These are super interesting, super unique here in London. It's these little huts right here, this wee green hut. It's a cabman shelter and you can get some super British food here. We're gonna get a bacon butty. We've grabbed our bacon sandwich, so a pretty simple meal from this place. However, this is more about the heritage of where we're eating than the food itself. These Black Man's cab boxes are really interesting. In the late 1800s, these got set up because people were getting a little bit frustrated when they wanted a cab, which back then was horse and cart, but all the cabbies, when it was raining, were getting out of the rain and they were hiding in the pub. And in the pub, they were drinking, so they were having their ale, and they were sloshed, so they weren't much help for the people that wanted to get a cab at that time. So they set these up where alcohol was completely banned. And one of the really interesting things is cab drivers are allowed inside. Joe Public like us, we are not allowed inside, so it's takeaway only for us. But in there is a really little seating area. I could just see in there, a little TV going. There were a few cabbies in there just having their lunch, but we're only allowed takeaway from the window. And these are incredibly interesting, so much history behind them. This sandwich looks super good. You should smell it. It smells amazing. So we've gone super simple, and a lot of the fare at these cabmen's huts is just white bread, thick white bread. Got some butter, some slabs of bacon on there, and we went with the brown sauce option. So nothing worse than a cold bacon sandwich. So let's get into that. So it just is what it is, and that is what I love about it. You've got that thick white bread. It's a fraction stale. The bacon's nice and salty. The brown sauce, which is like vinegar and molasses and dates, so it's just a nice sort of tangy, fragrant sauce. Nice melted butter from that bacon. I love a bacon sandwich like this. Super good, and it's totally what I wanted to get from one of these cabmen's huts. So there used to be, I think, over 60 of them here in London. Now there are about 10 that are operational, so A lot have just been lost to time, basically, just being bulldozed for widening of roads. Some were lost during the war, being bombed, all sorts of things like that, but they're really preserving them now, so they've got heritage status, they're being looked after. But I love that they're keeping the tradition of the cab drivers are still the only ones allowed to go in these places, but they're really opening it up now to people like us to be able to grab some food from the window. Oh, I mean, that's what I think of when I think of London. Beautiful, simple food like that. And what a thing to have when you're wandering the streets of the city. A bacon sandwich, or a bacon butty as we call it. It is delicious, and I love the history of these places.
I'm really excited for our next meal. We're heading for a fry-up or a full English breakfast. Now we've come to a cafe called the Regency Cafe. It's really famous. It's been here since 1946. It's a real traditional local spot.
We have gone for the full shebang for the full English breakfast. It looks incredible, but this cafe is incredible too. This is what London's all about to me. These really, really brilliant places with a lot of history, and these great tiles on the walls. We've got the guy screaming out the orders behind me. It's got such a great feel about it. And check out this plate of food. So the full English for us today is a fried egg. We've got some bacon under there. We've got a sausage, which will be a pork sausage. We've got some black pudding, which is something I love. That's made with blood. We've got some mushrooms. We've got a huge pile of baked beans, and we've got some tomatoes that have just been chucked into a pan, so have a nice little crispy bit on top. I think with any breakfast like this, you've got to start by popping your egg. Ooh yeah, nice runny yolk. So we'll just rip into the egg. I'm going to cut open some black pudding. So that is made with pig's blood. So it's kind of like a sausage, but it's got oats in it and some pig's blood. So you can see it's all kind of sort of sticky there with blood. I love black pudding. Some baked beans. Let's get a mushroom. Oh, I love this type of food. The black pudding's not too strong. Sometimes with black pudding it has a lot of herbs and things in it, so it gets real bursts of that sort of flavour, but this isn't. This is quite simple, so it's got a nice meaty taste, not irony or anything from the blood, but it's a lovely texture. It's a little bit squishy, but on the outside it's all nice and crispy where it's been fried in the pan. I love this food. It's also simple. We've got to get more because there's so many combos, options. You know, you can just mix and match and really make up your food. Oh, there's a nice fatty bit of bacon, and I love the baked beans because you've got the baked bean sauce, which pretty much just coats everything. Let's cut a big bit of tomato off. The tomato's nice and well cooked, just so I like them. I don't like them when they're cooked for too long and they go completely squishy. So it's still got a little bit of crunchiness in the middle. Oh, that's so good. The tomato really holds its shape. Burst of sweet and tanginess from that. You've got from the baked beans. You've obviously got a lot of sugar in that tomato sauce, so a lot of sweetness from the baked beans. And fatty bit of bacon, heaven. I was so excited about my full English, totally forgot about the drink. So obviously a cup of tea to go with that, a nice milky tea. Exactly what you expect. Oh, it's nice and strong, really good. And they also give you, when you order the full English, these big thick slabs of white toast and some butter under there as well. This is the most incredible environment. It feels like the heart and soul of London being in a place like this. Brilliant little eatery. I'm loving it with this nice buttery toast. This butter's nice and salty, that toast is super thick, but I've come up with my favourite mouthful, which is this pork sausage with a few herbs in it. We've got this brown sauce, which is just like we had on the bacon butty, so nice and tangy. So like a lot of that tangy sauce, and then sweet baked beans all over there. Oh, that is a good flavour combo. This could not get more British. I love this place. The little curtains, the tiles, the tables, the staff. It's as good as it gets for like proper British fare. You definitely don't go to a place like that for the best English breakfast in London, but you go for the feeling, the nostalgia of it all. There was nothing wrong with that English breakfast, it was incredibly tasty, but it was all about that environment. Such a neat cafe.
Our kind of place. Now, it wouldn't be an English food tour if we didn't have a cream tea, so we're going to settle in, have a cuppa, some scones, jam and cream.
Noises we like to hear.
We're having cream tea in this little cafe called the Cake Hole, and it's at the back of a vintage homewares shop. So there's great vintage crockery and cutlery and homewares out the front, and then there's a little cozy cafe in the back. And all of the food is served on vintage crockery, which is awesome. And holy moly, this cream tea looks so good. So we've got some fluffy, warm scones, some clotted cream, which looks super luscious and thick, and then raspberry jam, and then a very, very big pot of tea. So that's what I'm going to do first. Pour myself a cup of tea. Get that in there. So that's English breakfast. Nice and strong. And then I've also got to add a dollop of milk. Alright, and then let's just get into these scones. They are so fluffy. So they come from a bakery called Rinkoff's Bakery, and the bakery is still family run. It's been around since 1911. So let's just open that up, and I am a clotted cream on the bottom and then jam on top type of girl. So let's, whoa, look at how thick that cream is. It is super thick, it's almost like butter. Alright, so spread that on there. Oh my goodness, it is so thick. And then a dollop of beautiful raspberry jam on top. Get a lot of that on there. Alright, let's have a taste of this thing. There's nothing better than scones, jam and cream for afternoon tea. This scone is very light and fluffy. You can see here that it's sort of cracked apart as it's risen. So scones are really basic, just sugar, self-raising flour, butter and milk. And then it's got this beautiful golden sort of glaze on the top from egg. The cream is so silky. Potted cream is very, very thick, and you can see that when the cream cools, it develops these clots on the top. So those darker yellow bits, really, really silky and smooth. Too much jam. Jam is very tangy, very sweet. Let's have a sip of tea. Beautiful.